welcome back to the B&B Show. I'm Andy Blalock, joined
man.
by, as always, Kevin Beasall.
Why is it called the B&B Show?
Bed and breakfast?
Bed and breakfast?
I wanted to call it, remember, the
Biscuits.
AKBBBBB Show, the Andrew, Kyle, Kevin, Beasall, Beacon Baptist Bible Broadcast. But apparently you can't put that on a T-shirt.
I just had like a stroke.
Or the logo. I want a logo back here.
Yeah. Does that go one more time?
Yes.
Well, it's good to be seen by you today.
Yes.
And what's our subject today? Because I have no idea. No, I'm just kidding.
That's good, actually. And with these nice, wonderful mics, we just ruined them. So sorry.
Yes.
We're so sorry. As you know, we're seeing a lot of unrest in these days that we live in. 2020 has been a very interesting year. I just want to go to sleep and wake me up when the ball drops. 2021.
That's right.
Someone tell me when Ryan Seacrest comes online. I'm just kidding. But one of the most perilous things of this year is yet to come, and that is election season.
Oh, yeah.
Because the problem with election season is, everyone wants to talk about polity and ideology and all this kind of stuff. And of course, the nation's more divided than ever. Yeah. And then whoever gets elected or not gets elected, they need therapy dogs and Play-Doh, and they're 28 years old and they need, to hug themselves because their person didn't get picked, etc. Going on. But the biggest problem, I believe, Brother Kevin, with this time of year, every 4 years, is this idea of discontentment.
Yeah.
Because that's what election year is. It reminds you of everything that you don't have, which is unlimited money, unfettered access to everything, pie in the sky, Santa Claus pipe dreams. And election year always tries to highlight what you don't have. It kind of ruins Thanksgiving, too, if you think about it.
Yeah, it sure does.
Because we live in the greatest nation on earth. We are the most free people that have ever lived on the planet Earth. But an election year, man, we're just so discontent. Or we're tempted to be, because that's how the media, that's how celebrities, that's how political pundits on both sides, they just try to fill you with either fear, indignation, but all of them fill you with discontent, or they try to. So...
That's right. You said something that just made me think about it. I wasn't planning on saying this, but I'm going to go to it anyway. Uh-oh. Off the beaten path. Not that we really had a path, but it's...
No, we don't.
It gets people focused on what they don't have, discontentment. And I immediately thought about Genesis chapter 3, where, of course, Eve's having this conversation with the serpent. Now, if a talking snake came up to me, I'd be like, ah.
But he was pretty back then, don't forget. He was more subtle.
He was more subtle than any beast of the field.
It's more
interesting to me, though. The first question mark in the Bible is when the serpent puts a question mark behind, yea, hath God said.
That's good.
It's the very first question mark. Our God's a God of periods and exclamation points, while the devil adds
There were no questions back then.
It's interesting to me. But what did the devil try to do? The serpent tried to get Eve to look at the one thing that she could not have.
Yep.
In chapter 2 of Genesis, God said to Adam, he said, you can eat freely of any tree of the garden, any tree that's there, but of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Then we fast forward to Genesis chapter 3, and what does the serpent get Eve's eyes on? The one thing that she cannot have. And that's what discontentment is. It's kind of like wanting something for yourself that God doesn't want for you when he wants it. But I also go to one of my favorite books of the Bible, Philippians, chapter number 4. I love what the Apostle Paul says, and I'm going to give it a little bit to you here. I'm going to read, if that's okay.
Dude, go ahead.
And he's been working on me on teaching me how to read. So, no, I'm just kidding. But if you go to Philippians chapter number 4 and verse number 10, it says, "But I rejoiced in the Lord greatly, that now at the last your care of me hath flourished again, wherein you were also careful, but ye lacked opportunity." Verse 11 goes on to say, "Not that I speak in respect of want," he says here, "for I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith," here it is, "to be content."
Yeah.
Interesting. "I know both how to be abased, and I know how to abound. Everywhere in all things I am instructed, both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need." And then verse 13, "I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me." And which brings me to these 3 alliterated points. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
It's almost like I prepared. But
I kind of have that too. I'm actually typing up something right now.
He's figuring it out as we go.
Yes.
But when it comes to contentment, being satisfied with what you have and where you are, there's 3 things. And think about it. Number 1, contentment is possible. Contentment is
Yes.
possible. And here's
Yes,
what I
it
mean by
is.
that. In the world we live in, such a materialistic world, I need the newest Apple device. I need the newest set of golf clubs. And by the way, if you're listening, I would love. No, I'm just kidding. But everybody
PlayStation
wants
5.
the newest thing. You get. I was so excited. I'd saved up for the iPhone X or 10 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And you got those. The cool thing about it was you can stare into it and the animals make your mouth movements, and I can send you things and make you do that right there.
These are the things we need.
Yeah, I need it. I must have. I saved up for it. I was able to get it, and I was so excited. I can look at the screen unlock and so forth. Only just a few months later, another one came out.
Yep.
And you're like, this is no longer cool and new. I must have
The
the
lust of the flesh.
really a great business model, honestly.
Yes, it is.
But that is seriously the world we live in. We have to have the newest, the best of everything. But Paul here says in Philippians, you know what? It's possible to be content. You can be satisfied. But he also says, I've learned to be content. In verse number 11 again says, not that I speak in respect of want, for I've learned in whatsoever state I am therewith to be content. It's also not only possible, but it's also a process.
Yes.
He says, I am content, but then he says, I'm learning to be content. And here's where I draw the net, if you will, the application. It's contentment in your relationship with Christ. And here's the alliterated points. Contentment is possible.
Yes.
Contentment's a process that we learn. But contentment is by and large found in the person.
Yeah,
Like that.
amen. That's
It's
good.
because I'm preaching going on.
Amen. It's good.
Close your eyes, bow your heads. The hymn begins. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, your relationship with Christ can bring contentment. Contentment is found in a person. I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me.
Amen.
You know what? God has given you everything that you need
Yes.
at this moment to serve him. He
Yes.
never asks you for something you do not have. Remember Moses back in Exodus chapter 3, he said, what is that in thine hand? And he said, a rod. God never asks you for anything that you don't have.
Yep.
So that means we can be content with where we are and what we do have.
Yeah. Amen.
So-
Sometimes, when you look at Gideon's army, he had too much.
That's true.
And he said, no, you don't even need any of this. You don't
Yeah.
need that. You don't need this. You don't need this.
Well, yeah, one preacher said, an old-time preacher, I think it was Vance Hapner, once you get to a place where all you have is God, you realize that God's all you need. Pretty interesting.
That's good.
We have so much stuff.
Dreams do come true at the Stuff Mart. All you need is lots more stuff. See if anybody know what that's from. Leave in the comment below if you know what it's from.
I actually don't know what that's from. But
You don't know?
No.
I won't spoil it. Well, should I? I'll do it later. It's a song from a beloved kids Christian series that has
like Brother
Talking-
Sheffy or something.
talking produce. That's all I'll say.
Oh, where's my hairbrush? Yes.
Yeah. I'm Bob. You're Larry.
Andy doesn't know where his hairbrush is. No, I'm just kidding.
You know, is it
I
bad?
digress.
I asked before the video started. No, I'm just kidding. It reminds me when I was a kid at Toys R Us, Rabbit Trail. When I was a kid at Toys R Us, I would drive my poor mother crazy because I would want a micro machine, but they had Star Wars micro machines. So they had X-Wings and TIE Fighters. If you don't know what this is, I feel sorry for you. I'm just kidding. But and cars, okay, cars too. And what I would always do is mom would say, I'll pick out one thing. I should have been grateful and thankful that my mom was nice enough to drive me all the way to that horrid place with screaming kids and flinging germs and boogers.
Little marshmallow.
The Slough of Despond. I'm going to kill you. Yeah, it's true, though. Slough of Despond here. And then she picks up a toy for me. But see, they're smart micro machines because what they did is on their product, if you look at the back, it would say, here's all the other ones you don't have. Collect them all. So the moment I'd go home and before I'd even open it out of the packaging, I would turn it over and go, I want that one.
Don't care how I want it now.
Yeah. And that is discontentment to a T. It's like, I got this thing from my mom, didn't even say thank you. And I turn over and go, I want that one. Can we go back? I want it now. And if they don't have it in stock, order it. That is our society.
Yeah,
And that's
sure is.
the human condition. Brother Kevin gave great positive points. I'm going to give some negative points.
Bring it.
This is why this is what happens when you're discontent. Every facet, I want you to listen to this, every facet of human suffering, every single one begins with a discontent heart.
Right.
Always an unthankful heart. Going all the way back, as Brother Kevin said, in the garden, it all started with discontentment. She was looking at that micro machine box, just like Andy. You can have every tree, Andy. Every tree, just not that one. But I want that one. Is that not what we do?
I love that.
You can push all the buttons. Don't push that button. I won't push that button. I don't care about all the other ones. You know, the people of Israel, they had a pillar of cloud by day and literally a tower of fire by night. You think that would be enough to know of God's provision? And
they wanted flesh to eat.
Yes, every morning they got Krispy Kreme donuts, but they said, not only did they say we missed the leeks and the onions and the garlics and we'd miss all these things. Not only do they complain about that, but then they say there is nothing at all except for this manna before our eyes. Because discontentment creates a wrong perspective. It does three things. One, it brings confusion. Again, the wrong perspective. They said, we have nothing at all. You have nothing? When you're discontent, you don't recognize what you have and what you need.
Right.
Romans 1 says that, creation gives witness to God. Therefore, we are without excuse. And it says, because that when they knew God, that means all of us, they glorified him not as God. And here is the fall of man. Every civilization, every country, every group of people, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful.
Interesting.
And then it goes down from there. They became vain in their imaginations. Their foolish heart was darkened. They began entertaining the lust of the flesh. Man, all the horrible things that you can list, and all the things this country that we're complaining about inequality or race and whatever, it's all because it starts with they don't recognize God for who he is, neither were thankful. All of the problems that happened in Israel is because they forgot. They were unthankful. That's what always happens. And that brings confusion. And then after confusion, it brings complaining. If you have the wrong perspective, you're going to have the wrong actions. That's all there is to it. And you're going to whine, you're going to complain, and life is hard. I mean, Paul, more than anyone, as you just quoted, had a reason to complain.
That's true.
Stoned, rejected, thrown in jail multiple times, and yet he said, I have learned in whatsoever state. I mean, that's amazing coming from him, because his state was rejection. His state was physical pain. His state was constant incarceration, constant loneliness, constant danger, constant fear of death. But in whatever state he was in, to be content. So if he could be content, I mean, we could definitely be content if Chick-fil-A's closed on Sunday and I wanted a large Coke Zero or whatever.
I saw somebody drive up on Sunday the other day. They were so disappointed.
What is happening? So it brings confusion, it brings complaining, but then at the end, and this is what always happens, it brings contempt. Always. And that's what happens. A discontent heart always leads to contempt. Satan convinced Eve that God was holding something back from her, that she was missing out. There's a term in today's society called FOMO, which stands for fear of missing out. It's in gaming, it's in media, it's in movies. It's this idea like, man, if you don't go see Avengers Endgame, the first 52 seconds it's out. If you don't go on Thursday night at 9 p.m., that doesn't make any sense to me, by the way. Anyway, I won't go down that rabbit trail. If you don't go see it, it's FOMO, fear of missing out. You're going to get spoiled, our spoiler culture. I don't want to hear spoilers. It's that fear of not being a part of something. And Satan always wants you to feel like you're missing out. You're missing out on this worldly lifestyle. You're missing out on all the fun, these lost people, all this sin that you're missing out on. But the truth is, everything we need, as you said, is found in Jesus Christ. But when you're discontent, it leads to contempt, that God is not fair. My parents are not fair. Life isn't fair. Everything stinks. I hate everything. I don't want to sit next to Kevin. This room is too cold. These lights are too bright. My hair is too weird. This shirt is too tight or loose. I don't know. You start to lose it. This watch is too old. My phone is too old. He's got a nicer phone than I do. Blah, blah. I don't have a PlayStation 5, only a PlayStation 4. And on it goes. And even though we kind of tease about it, every single root of bitterness starts with discontentment. It is the peephole. It is the crack that Satan looks for in your heart every single time. And he had no way of penetrating the relationship between Adam and Eve and God. He had no way, except by causing just a little bit of discontentment. Yep, always. So you have to guard against it. This year, you're going to hear about the economy's terrible, that this country is awful, everyone hates each other. If you listen to politicians today on both sides, you will hear that we live in the worst country in the history of man. And the ironic thing is we live in the greatest country. We have more freedoms, We have no more creature comforts than any time in human history, not just, in this decade or this century, in all of human history. It's unreal. We live better than Pontius Pilate. We live better than the Roman emperor.
Yeah, sure do.
When you really think about it, and the poorest of us do. But we don't look at it that way because society always wants, just like Satan does in the garden, to look at what you don't have. Because I got news for you. What you think you don't have is probably something you don't need.
Right. Yeah.
God fulfills our needs, not our greeds.
Right.
Always.
That's good.
So, well, it's true.
You should write a book or something.
Yeah, I'll call it Micro Machines. It'll be me as a little brat looking at the back of the box.
That was that wasn't that long ago.
That was last week. But yeah, we want to encourage you that during this time, kind of proactively, don't let the voices of the world drown out how good God has been to you, how good he is now, and the promises and blessings that he has for us in the future. Recognize, not just from a political standpoint, the country we live in, but what God has provided for us spiritually, a home in heaven, forgiveness of sins, a church family. We are immensely blessed.
That's true.
And then by recognizing what you have, God will bless you even more because you'll be thankful for those things.
Right.
And he'll use you for it too. So,
yeah, be content. That's the culture we live in. The day after Thanksgiving, you smash down doors.
The same day.
The same day.
The same day. All right, dinner's done.
All
5
right, I'm
o'clock.
thankful I'm going to Target now, and I'm getting a new 65-inch TV for a real good price. And, all that mess. Don't get caught up so much in the spirit of all that. I'm not saying getting new things is wrong, but the spirit
No, I
of
like
all
Black
that,
Friday.
I'm going to have to find Andy some Micro Machines now. But
Yep.
just think about what you do have rather than what you don't have.
Yes.
And, God has given us so very, very much. And
Yes.
think about it sometime. Maybe even write it down.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
that
count your many blessings.
Yeah. Name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord
has
done.
Amen. It's true.
My name is Kevin Besaw, and sitting next to me is Andy Blalock, and we're going to sign off for today. As always, get off Facebook. Get your face in the book.
I have an outro.
Oh, you do? Go ahead.
I do. Ready? We pray that you have strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow.
It's like some kind of song or something, I think.
It is. Great is thy faithfulness.
It's a great song.
Great song.
Yes.
And he is faithful. So
Well, don't do anything we wouldn't do.
that's the best outro. Don't do anything we would do.
We're praying for you. I hope this is a blessing to you. Have a great day.
You too. God bless and bye-bye.
Bye.